And I'm the only one running for president that's ever done anything against Obamacare. And that wasn't a long speech. It was actually something we did. And here's what we did. They created a bailout fund. When Obamacare passed, the insurance companies got them to create a bailout fund. They were going to bail out insurance companies that lost money with your taxpayer money. I led the effort, and we got rid of the bailout fund. And when I'm president, we will get rid of the rest of Obamacare and put you back in charge. The federal government is involved in all kinds of things it's not supposed to be involved in. Here's the one thing it does have to be involved in: national security. Okay? And it's not doing a good job right now because we have a very weak commander-in-chief. Okay? And so, and let's look at the world today, by the way. 8 years of Barack Obama, the world has gone more dangerous. There is a lunatic in North Korea with nuclear weapons. The Chinese are taking over the South China Sea. Vladimir Putin is sowing instability in Europe and in the Middle East. Iran is going to get $100 billion of sanctions relief. And radical Islamic jihadists are spreading all over the world, especially ISIS. In the face of all these growing threats, we're gutting our military. We are gutting our military, okay? Our Army will soon be the smallest it has been since the end of World War II. The Navy will soon be at its smallest size in 100 years. And the Air Force will soon be smaller than it has ever been. So the world is getting more dangerous, and we're gutting our military. And by the way, how unfair is that to our men and women in uniform? Because we're still putting them in harm's way, but now we're putting them in harm's way with older weapons and less people alongside them. And by the way, with rules of engagement that don't even allow them to win. That's going to change. When I'm president of the United States, we are going to undertake a Reagan-style rebuilding of the U.S. military. When I'm president of the United States, we're going to have a real war on terror. Not a fake one like the one we have now, a real one. The best intelligence agencies in the world are going to find the terrorists. The best military in the world is going to destroy them. And if we capture any of these terrorists alive, they're not going to have the right to remain silent. They're not going to get a court hearing in Manhattan. They're not coming somewhere in Oklahoma. They are going to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. When I'm president of the United States, we're going to have a foreign policy of moral clarity, which means our allies will know they can count on us. For example, in all of the Middle East, there is only one nation that is pro-American, a free enterprise economy, and a democracy. Israel. That's right. Maybe Donald Trump is confused and he wants to be impartial, but I am not. If push comes to shove, I know whose side I'm going to be on. I am going to be on Israel's side every single time. Every single time. And that is going to begin on my first day in office. Because as soon as I walk into the Oval Office, I will cancel Barack Obama's deal with the Ayatollah of Iran. When I'm president, we are going to take care of our veterans again. If you are a veteran, would you lift your hand so we can thank you for your service to our country? God bless you. God bless you. Well, my brother's a veteran. I have a brother that's 21 years older than I am. My parents had him in their, I guess, late teens, early 20s. People got married very young back then. And I was born 21 years later, which means my parents were incredibly optimistic people. In 1968, my brother joined the Army. He became a Green Beret in the 7th Special Forces. He served from 68 to 71. When he was in the Army as a Green Beret, one day in a training mission, he jumped out of an airplane, he landed wrong, knocked out his teeth. And so every 5 to 10 years, he has to go fill a dental claim at the VA. And it's always a hassle. It's always the same thing. Oh, how do we know this happened in the military? He says, well, it's the only time I jumped out of a plane. And a quarter of the calls to my office, I bet you Jim would say the same. A significant number of the calls that we get in our Senate offices or a veteran having to fight with a VA. We act like we're doing them a favor. They did us the favor. They took care of us. We now have to take care of them, and we're not doing that. And look, there are really good people at the VA. There are good VA hospitals. We thank the people at the VA. A lot of them are veterans. And then there are people at the VA that are not doing a good job. Last week in USA Today, there was a headline. It said, calls to the VA suicide hotline went to voicemail. How can someone not get fired over that? When I'm president, if you're not doing a good job at the VA, we are going to fire you. You will be fired. And when I'm president of the United States of America, our veterans will be able to take their VA benefits to any hospital or any doctor that you want to go see. There's a lot of work to be done. I can go on for an hour talking about these different things because the damage is so extensive. What Barack Obama's done to this country is deep and deliberate, by the way. He wanted to change America. He wanted us to be more like the rest of the world. That's how you get a president that guts our military. That's how you get a president that apologizes for America. That's how you get a message. Yeah, I'm going to keep repeating that. Absolutely I am, because it's the truth. These things were not, let me ask you a question. Was Obamacare an accident or on purpose? Right? Is all what they're trying to do now with our school system taking over from the federal government, is that deliberate or was it an accident? These things are all happening on purpose by design. They want to make America more like the rest of the world. If you want to be like another country, move to another country. We want to be America. The damage he's done is real. And we are running out of time to fix it, but we can. But it has to start now, in 2016. 2016 is a choice. A generational choice. What does that mean? Here's what it means. It means for over 2 centuries, each generation before us was willing to do whatever it took to make America special. Now the time has come for us to do the same. We all know this in our own lives. I know it in mine. You know, I'm very passionate about this race. I know, as I said, that today we are an underdog. I embrace that role. Because as I said in the very beginning of this speech, I've always been an underdog. My parents weren't even born in America. They were born on the island of Cuba to poor families. You know that my father stopped going to school when he was 9 years old because his mother died. If he wanted to eat, he literally had to go work at 9 years of age, and he would work for the next 70 years of his life. My parents came here together in 1956. They didn't have anything. They had barely an education. They spoke little English. The first words my father learned in English were, "I'm looking for a job." They struggled. Their first years here were very, very difficult. They were discouraged. They wondered if they had made a mistake. They even thought at one time, maybe we should go back to Cuba. You can't imagine how grateful I am they did not. I may have never even been born had they gone back to Cuba. But they stuck it out, and the American miracle changed their lives. You know that less than 10 years after my parents got here with nothing, my father was then working as a bartender on Miami Beach, not a luxury job, not a high-paying job, but he had a job on Miami Beach as a bartender. And less than 10 years after they came here, my parents bought a home in a safe and stable neighborhood. They worked for many years. They never became rich. They never became famous. I didn't inherit any money. But my parents were successful people because all those years of work allowed them to retire with dignity and with security. It allowed them to raise their family. I always tell people, we never had everything we wanted, but we had everything we needed. And I did come from privilege. Not financial privilege or political privilege. I came with the privilege of being raised by 2 parents, a mother and a father, who loved each other and loved their children and were married and lived in a home. And let me tell you, living in a home with a mother and a father who love you is an incredible privilege and an advantage. And I thank God every day that I had it.